Commander Vasha Orlov's breath caught in her throat as the alien vessel, a behemoth of gleaming obsidian and pulsing violet energy, materialized from the quantum fold less than 3 kilometers from the UES Relentless. The massive ship dwarfed her frigate by at least 20 times, its hull adorned with what appeared to be thousands of weapon ports. "Tactical, full analysis," she barked, her fingers curling around the command chair's armrests. Lieutenant Kaz Emmerich's hands flew across his console. "Unknown configuration, Commander. Energy readings off the charts. They're powering weapons." Vasha's mind raced. The Relentless wasn't built for this kind of confrontation. A diplomatic escort vessel repurposed as a border patrol ship, it carried only minimal armaments. Yet here they were, facing what could only be described as a warship of the mysterious Vekridian collective, a species humanity had encountered only twice before, both times ending in bloodshed. "Comms, broadcast standard greeting protocols, all frequencies," she ordered, "and get me fleet command, now." The massive alien vessel's response came not in words but in action. A lance of emerald energy sliced through space, missing the Relentless. "By mere meters, they're targeting our engines," Tactical Officer Emmerich shouted. "Second volley incoming. Evasive pattern Delta 9, shields to maximum," Vasha commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "And someone remind these bastards about the Accords." The Galactic Accords of 2287 had been humanity's gift to the stars, a set of civilized rules of engagement that most spacefaring species had readily embraced. All except the Vekridians, who seemed to view the human-led diplomatic effort as weakness rather than wisdom. The Relentless shuddered violently as the alien beam grazed its starboard shields. Warning klaxons blared throughout the vessel. "Shields at 62%, reported Ensign Pella Novick, her dark eyes wide with fear but her voice controlled. "Commander, we can't take another hit like that?" Vasha nodded grimly. "Navigation. Plot a course to Outpost Helios. Maximum burn." Lieutenant Dai-Yu Wong swiveled in her chair. "They'll catch us before we're halfway there, Commander." "We don't need to make it all the way," Vasha replied, her lips pressed into a thin line. "We just need to get close enough for the beacon." Understanding dawned on her crew's faces. The emergency beacon, specifically designed to alert the 7th Fleet to Vekridian incursions into human space. As the Relentless accelerated away from the alien vessel, Vasha activated her captain's log. "UES Relentless, Captain's Emergency Protocol Alpha. We have encountered a Vekridian warship at coordinates 227-894-031, Sector Epsilon. Unprovoked attack in progress, attempting to reach broadcast range of Outpost Helios. If this log is recovered, tell Fleet Admiral Kostova the Vekridians have violated the border again." The alien ship pursued, relentless in its attack. 2 more energy beams struck the human vessel, reducing shields to critical levels. "Beacon ready, Commander," called out Communications Officer Rivka Mazari. "But we need to get closer. The quantum. Interference is too strong here." Vasha made her decision. "Divert all power from weapons to engines and shields. We make our stand at Helios." As the frigate pushed its engines beyond safety parameters, the crew worked with frantic precision. This wasn't just about their survival now. It was about warning humanity that the fragile peace was shattered. What the Vekridians didn't understand, what they couldn't comprehend in their arrogance, was that humanity had learned the harshest lessons of war over millennia of conflict. The human motto among the stars wasn't just empty words painted on their warships. "Violate this at your peril. Human warships. Leave no survivors." The Vekridians were about to learn exactly what that meant. Fleet Admiral Zoya Kostova stood motionless before the holographic display, her weathered face illuminated by the pulsing red emergency signal emanating from Sector Epsilon. Behind her, the officers of the 7th Fleet Command Center watched in tense silence. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of 30 years in space combat. The distress call from the Relentless replayed, fragmented and corrupted by weapons fire, but clear enough to understand. Commander Orlov's final words echoed through the command center. "They've breached the Helios perimeter, cannot evade. Vekridians must be stopped." The transmission ended with the unmistakable sound of a ship breaking apart. Admiral Kostova's eyes narrowed. "Status of the emergency beacon?" "Still active, Admiral," reported Captain Rai Ezkera, her XO. "Silent mode engaged, but transmitting location data. The Relentless didn't go down without leaving us a trail." Kostova nodded once, decisively. "Order the fleet to battle stations. Deploy the Cerberus protocol." A ripple of tension passed through the command center. The Cerberus protocol had never been implemented outside of simulations. "Admiral," Captain Ezkera said quietly, "the diplomatic corps will demand consultation before—" "The time for diplomacy ended when they destroyed one of our ships in our own territory," Kostova interrupted. "The Vekridians have made their choice. Now they face the consequences." Within minutes, the massive engines of the 7th Fleet's 3 dreadnoughts, the Indomitable, the Sovereign, and the Reckoning, glowed with fierce blue light as they prepared to enter the quantum fold. Surrounding them, 18 destroyers and 42 frigates formed the Arrowhead formation that had become the signature of human fleet engagements. Aboard the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Kostova addressed the fleet. "Soldiers of humanity today, we answer an act of aggression with righteous fury. The UES Relentless has been destroyed by Vekridian forces who once again violated our borders and ignored our warnings. For too long we have extended the hand of peace only to have it slapped away. No more." Her voice hardened as she continued. "The Vekridians believe us weak because we seek cooperation among the stars. They mistake our diplomacy for cowardice. Today, they will learn the truth that humanity has always known, that those who truly desire peace must be capable of terrible violence when threatened." She paused, looking at the holographic representation of her fleet, the most powerful human combat force ever assembled in this sector of space. Initiate quantum fold. Weapons free upon arrival. Remember our fallen comrades on the Relentless. Remember our oath. Violate this at your peril. Human warships, leave no survivors. Light bent around the massive human fleet as 63 warships simultaneously entered the quantum fold, disappearing from normal space only to reappear moments later, surrounding the Vekridian battle group that had destroyed the Relentless. The Vekridians had expanded their presence. 4 warships now patrolled the sector, clearly preparing for deeper incursion into human space. Their overconfidence was evident in their formation. They hadn't expected retaliation so swift or overwhelming. "All ships, execute fire pattern Omega," Admiral Kostova commanded. As one, the human fleet opened fire. Hyperkinetic railguns accelerated tungsten rods to near-relativistic speeds. Plasma torpedoes locked onto Vekridian energy signatures. Quantum disruptors targeted the aliens' propulsion systems. The lead Vekridian ship, likely the one that had destroyed the Relentless, attempted to return fire, but found itself caught in a crossfire from 3 human destroyers. Its shields flared brilliant purple before collapsing entirely. "Message from the Vekridian flagship, Admiral," reported the communications officer. "They're demanding we cease fire and withdraw immediately or face the wrath of their empire." Admiral Kostova's expression remained impassive. "Send them, Commander." Orlov's final transmission, no other response. As the battle unfolded, tactical officers across the human fleet marveled at the efficiency of the Cerberus protocol. Designed specifically to counter Vekridian battle tactics, it exploited weaknesses in their shield harmonics that human intelligence had spent years identifying. Within 17 minutes, the first Vekridian warship shattered into a cloud of superheated debris. The message was clear. Humanity had not survived millennia of its own brutal history without learning how to end threats decisively. Sub-Marshal Vrex Talmor of the Vekridian Collective paced the command deck of the mighty warship Eternal. Dominion, his 4-fingered hands clasped tightly behind his back. His violet skin glistened with stress secretions as he watched the tactical display with mounting horror. "Impossible," he hissed through needle-like teeth. "These humans are supposed to be diplomatic weaklings. How did they mobilize such a force? So quickly?" His second-in-command, War Director Meja, gestured toward the display where one of their escort vessels was being systematically dismantled by human weapons fire. "The beacon from their destroyed ship," Meja suggested. "We should have atomized the wreckage completely." Talmor slammed his fist against the command console. "The Supreme Collective assured us that human military capability was exaggerated, that their fleet was dispersed across too many sectors to pose a significant threat." Around him, the bridge crew of the Eternal Dominion worked frantically to reinforce shields and return fire, but the human assault was unlike anything in Vekridian combat records. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, attacking from constantly shifting vectors that suggested an adaptive battle algorithm far superior to Vekridian tactical systems. "Sub-Marshal," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Audio only." Talmor flicked his hand in acknowledgement, and the broken, static-filled voice of a human commander filled the bridge. "They've breached the Helios perimeter. Cannot evade. Vekridians must be stopped." The recording ended, followed by silence. No demands, no ultimatums, just the dying words of the ship they had destroyed. "They mock us," snarled Talmor. "Order the righteous claim and inevitable victory to focus fire on their flagship. Let's see how their admiral enjoys watching her vessel disintegrate." But even as he gave the order, the tactical display updated with alarming news. The righteous claim was no longer responding to commands, its systems apparently frozen by some form of electronic warfare, and the inevitable victory reported critical shield failures across all sectors. "Sub-Marshal," Meja said quietly, "I suggest we initiate emergency quantum retreat. We can return with the Third Battle Fleet and—" "Retreat?" Talmor's voice rose to a screech. "Before these primitive mammals, the Collective would have my head. With respect, they will have your head regardless if we lose this entire battle group," Meja replied, eyes locked on the tactical display where a second Vekridian vessel was now venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Talmor hesitated, then nodded sharply. "Begin quantum fold calculations. Target the hegemony rally point in Sector 12. We'll bring back enough firepower to sterilize their entire system." But as the Vekridian engineers scrambled to prepare for emergency quantum translation, sensors reported a new development. 3 human destroyers had broken formation and were accelerating directly toward the Eternal Dominion. "Intercept course," reported the tactical officer, mandibles clicking in distress. "They'll impact in 37 seconds. "Destroy them," Talmor ordered. The Eternal Dominion's primary weapons batteries opened fire, catching one of the human destroyers with a direct hit. The vessel exploded spectacularly, but the other 2 continued their suicidal charge, engines burning white-hot. 20 seconds to impact. Talmor watched in disbelief. "Are they insane? They'll destroy themselves along with us." "Sub-Marshal." Meja's voice had gone deadly quiet. "The destroyed vessel, it's still accelerating." The tactical display confirmed it. What they had hit was merely the detached front section of the human destroyer. The main body, containing the engines and what sensors now identified as an absolutely massive payload of antimatter, continued its terminal approach. In his final moments, Sub-Marshal Talmor finally understood the human warning that his intelligence officers had dismissed as empty bravado. "Violate this at your peril. Human warships leave no survivors." The antimatter containment fields collapsed precisely on impact, converting 3 human destroyers and the Vekridian flagship into a briefly expanding star. The orbital monitoring station above New Geneva buzzed with frantic activity. Diplomatic representatives from 17 alien species demanded updates, threatened sanctions, or offered assistance following news of the Vekridian incursion and subsequent human military response. Grand Ambassador Lysithea Okafor moved through the chaos with practiced calm. her ceremonial blue and silver robe sweeping behind her as aides scurried to keep pace. The Johnny Confederation is threatening to withdraw from the Galactic Accords if we don't agree to arbitration, reported her senior aide, diplomatic attaché Corvus Reed. The Tsilarian Imperium has offered military support, and the Brentari Republic wants assurance this conflict won't spill into their trade routes. Lysithea nodded, processing each piece of information. Tell the Johnny that we will present evidence of multiple Vekridian violations at the next council meeting. Thank the Tsilarians, but decline their offer. Escalation is the last thing we need. Assure the Brentari that containment is our highest priority. As they entered the secure briefing room, General Iskander Volkov of the United Earth Defense Force stood waiting, his weathered face grim. Ambassador, he acknowledged with a curt, "Oh." The situation has evolved. The holographic display activated, showing the aftermath of the battle in Sector Epsilon. Debris fields marked where Vekridian warships had been destroyed. One massive energy signature indicated the antimatter detonation that had claimed the Vekridian flagship along with 3 human destroyers. Admiral Kostova implemented the Cerberus Protocol, General Volkov reported. The Vekridian battle group has been neutralized. We lost 5 vessels total, including the initial diplomatic escort ship. Lysithea studied the display, her expression carefully neutral despite the sorrow she felt for the lost crews. Casualties? 873 confirmed. Several escape pods were launched from our destroyers before the final engagement, but recovery operations are still underway. The ambassador closed her eyes briefly. And the Vekridians? No survivors, as per protocol. The general's voice held no remorse. Their quantum communication relay was destroyed in the initial barrage to prevent them from calling reinforcements. Lysithea turned to face the general directly. You understand that I'll have to justify this to the Galactic Council. No survivors isn't a policy that engenders trust among our allies. General Volkov's jaw tightened. With respect, Ambassador, trust isn't what keeps our borders secure. The Vekridians have tested our resolve 3 times now. Each time they've escalated. Each time they've violated not just our territory, but the fundamental principles of the accords that you yourself drafted. I'm well aware of what I drafted, General, Lysithea replied, her voice carrying an edge of steel. I'm also aware that 17 species are watching how we handle this situation. Half of them still remember humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage. How quickly we adapted alien technologies. How rapidly we expanded our military capabilities. They fear us, stated the general. As well they should, Lysithea said quietly. We emerged from our cradle world to find a galaxy in delicate balance. Within 2 centuries, we've become a major power. Our allies appreciate our diplomatic efforts precisely because they know what alternatives we possess. She gestured toward the display showing the destroyed Vekridian ships. This is why the warning on our warships isn't just empty rhetoric. Violate this at your peril. Human warships leave no survivors. It's not a threat, General. It's a promise of what happens when diplomacy fails. General Volkov nodded slowly. The Admiralty believes the Vekridians will respond with significant force. Their collective spans 12 systems. They can afford losses we cannot. Lysithea turned back to the holographic display, zooming out to show the broader strategic picture. Then we need to ensure they understand that further aggression will result in losses they cannot afford. She paused, making her decision. Implement Directive Omega-7. The general's eyes widened slightly. Ambassador, that requires presidential authorization, which I received 20 minutes ago. Lysithea's voice was resolute. We didn't survive thousands of years of trying to annihilate ourselves just to let the first aggressive alien species we encounter finish the job. As the general departed to execute her orders, Ambassador Okafor turned to her aide. Corvus, arrange an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Tell them I will present evidence of Vekridian aggression and outline humanity's response plan. Will you tell them about Directive Omega-7? Corvus asked hesitantly. Lysithia's expression hardened. Some things are better demonstrated than explained. The galaxy is about to learn why, despite our diplomatic overtures, no species has ever prevailed in direct conflict with humanity. The message was clear. Peace was always the preference, but those who chose war with humanity would find no mercy. The Vekridian Supreme Collective Chamber pulsed with biofluorescent light as 9 high executors, the ruling council of their species, absorbed the devastating news. The holographic projection at the center of their circular chamber showed only debris where a proud battle group had once been. 4 warships, 6,241 warriors, all destroyed, intoned High Executor Jivex, eldest of the council. His voice resonated with the harmonics of formal mourning. The humans have declared war upon us through this action. High Executor Malvika, responsible for military strategy, flicked her slender fingers through the holographic debris field. What troubles me is not just the loss, but the manner of it. Our intelligence suggested humans would attempt negotiation first. Instead, they deployed overwhelming force with precision and ruthlessness. They are an aberration, hissed High Executor Pelvor, head of biological sciences. Their evolutionary path should have led them to extinction centuries ago. Their psychological profile indicates contradictory impulses, cooperation and extreme violence coexisting in cognitive dissonance. The chamber fell silent as the main doors parted, admitting War Master Kajax, Supreme Commander of the Vekridian military forces. His ceremonial armor still bore the markings of recent combat, a deliberate discourtesy to emphasize the urgency of the situation. Honored executors, he began without preamble, we have intercepted and decoded human fleet communications. They are mobilizing for further action. Not merely defensive positioning, but offensive operations. Murmurs of disbelief circulated among the council members. High Executor Jivex raised a hand for silence. Explain yourself, War Master. The humans have never shown territorial ambition beyond their established colonies. Their philosophy emphasizes coexistence. War Master Kajax activated his personal data module, projecting a tactical display of human fleet movements. 3. Battle groups converging on the Marikian Gap. Quantum sensors detect preparations for jump capabilities extending into the heart of our territory. They're not responding to our incursion. They're preparing to bring war to the collective itself. High Executor. Malvika's skin paled to almost white. Impossible. Even if they defeated our exploratory force, they must know the full might of the collective would annihilate their species. Perhaps they do not care, suggested Pelvor. Remember their history. These are creatures who nearly destroyed their own world multiple times, who fought wars of attrition that claimed millions of their own kind. Their concept of mutually assured destruction nearly ended their civilization during their primitive nuclear age. War Master Kajax's expression hardened. We recovered a fragment of debris from the human destroyer that sacrificed itself to destroy the Eternal Dominion. Etched into a bulkhead was their warning. Violate this at your peril. Human warships leave no survivors. Our linguists believe this is not hyperbole. It is their operational doctrine. The chamber erupted into urgent discussion until High Executor Jivex slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor. Enough! War Master, deploy the Homeworld Defense Fleet to intercept these human battle groups. Activate the Deep Space Monitoring Network. If they seek total war, we shall oblige them. But before Kajax could acknowledge the order, the chamber's emergency alert system activated. Every display simultaneously showed the same image. A single human warship had appeared in orbit around the Vekridian homeworld itself. How? Breathed Malvika. Our defensive grid should have detected any quantum fold activity. The answer came moments later as a communication request flashed across all channels. Without waiting for the Council's approval, the system automatically displayed the message. A human female in formal diplomatic attire. High Executors of the Vekridian Collective, she began, her translator perfectly rendering the complex harmonics of formal Vekridian speech. I am Grand Ambassador Lysithea Okafor of the United Earth Alliance. The vessel above your world is the UES Harbinger. It carries no conventional weapons. She paused, allowing that statement to sink in. Instead, it carries a single quantum-entangled device linked to a neutron star fragment contained at our military installation in the Procyon system. Should this vessel be fired upon, or should any further aggression be directed toward human space, that containment will fail. The resulting gravitational event will propagate through quantum space to this exact location. The implications were, clear to every Vekridian present, their entire homeworld would be instantly crushed to subatomic particles. We did not seek this conflict, the ambassador continued. But as you have now discovered, when forced to fight, humanity does not believe in proportional response. We believe in ending threats permanently. The hologram expanded to show footage of the recent battle, focusing on the human destroyers, deliberately sacrificing themselves to ensure the Vekridian flagship's destruction. This is not a negotiation. This is your single warning. Withdraw all forces from the border regions. Agree to arbitration under the Galactic Accords, or be destroyed. You have 6 hours to comply. The transmission ended, leaving the Supreme Collective Chamber in stunned silence. War Master Kajax was the first to speak. The human vessel's quantum signature confirms it. If their weapon functions as described, High Executor Zhivex looked around at his fellow council members, seeing the same realization dawn on each face. They had grievously miscalculated. Send the compliance signal, he ordered quietly, and prepare our diplomatic corps. It seems we have much to learn about humanity. Admiral Kostova stood on the observation deck of the orbital station New Horizon, gazing out at the stars beyond the reinforced viewports. Behind her, the doors hissed open to admit Ambassador Okafor, fresh from her return from the Galactic Council emergency session. Quite a show you put on, Admiral, Lysithea said, joining her at the viewport. The Harbinger's deployment was executed flawlessly. Zoya smiled faintly. The Vekridians never expected us to have mapped their quantum defenses so thoroughly. They still don't realize we've had stealth observation posts in their territory for years. A necessary precaution, the ambassador replied, though I suspect after today, many species will be scanning their systems for similar human precautions. They stood in silence for a moment, watching as a fleet of vessels moved into formation around the massive defense platform that protected Earth's orbital approaches. The Vekridian delegation arrives tomorrow, Lysithea finally said. They've agreed to all preliminary terms, including reparations for the Relentless and the other ships lost in the counterattack. Admiral Kostova's expression hardened. And the buffer zone? Doubled in size. Their military vessels will maintain a distance of at least 12 light-years from any human-controlled system. The Galactic Council approved the expansion unanimously. Apparently, our demonstration made quite an impression. The Admiral turned to face the ambassador directly. Do they know? Lysithea raised an eyebrow. That the quantum-entangled neutron star weapon doesn't actually exist? No. Our technical specifications were convincing enough that 3 separate species offered technological assistance to help us safely decommission it once the crisis is resolved. A thin smile crossed Zoya's face. Sometimes the threat of a weapon is more effective than the weapon itself. A lesson from Earth's own Cold War, Lysithea agreed, though the antimatter warheads on the Harbinger were quite real. If the Vekridians had called our bluff, they wouldn't have survived to know they were right. The Admiral's voice was matter of fact. They were interrupted by the arrival of General Volkov, who saluted crisply before handing a data tablet to the Admiral. Final casualty reports, Admiral. Recovery operations have concluded. Admiral Kostova scrolled through the numbers, her face solemn. 892 souls, including Commander Orlov and her crew. Their sacrifice will be honored. Thea said quietly. The President has authorized the highest military decorations for all personnel lost in the engagement. The general cleared his throat. There's something else, Admiral. We recovered Commander Orlov's personal log from the Relentless. Wreckage. He hesitated. Her final entry. I thought you should hear it. He activated the playback, and Commander Vasha Orlov's voice filled the observation deck, steady despite the sounds of battle in the background. We won't survive this encounter, but we've successfully activated the beacon. The 7th Fleet will respond. I know Admiral Kostova will understand what must be done. The Vekridians believe we are weak because we extended the hand of peace. They will learn, as so many throughout human history have learned, that our capacity for violence is matched only by our desire to avoid using it. We do not start conflicts, but we finish them. Violate this at your peril. Human warships leave no survivors. Orlov out. Silence settled over the observation deck as the recording ended. After a long moment, Admiral Kostova handed the tablet back to the general. Implement the Orlov Doctrine, she said firmly. I want her words etched onto the hull of every warship. In the fleet. Ambassador Okafor nodded her approval. The diplomatic corps will explain its significance to our allies. They should understand that our patience is not weakness, and our restraint is not inability. As General Volkov departed to carry out her orders, Thea turned back to the viewport. Beyond the defense platform, the first ships of the Vekridian diplomatic delegation were appearing from the quantum fold, escorted by human vessels whose hulls now bore Commander Orlov's final warning. Do you think they understand now? Asked the Admiral. I think the entire galaxy understands, replied the ambassador. Humanity has walked a unique path among the stars. We learned to temper our aggression not because we evolved beyond it, but because we recognized its terrible cost. We practiced diplomacy not from weakness, but from wisdom. She gestured toward the approaching Vekridian ships. They came seeking to test our boundaries, believing our diplomatic overtures signaled vulnerability. Instead, they discovered what countless human adversaries learned before them, that we are never more dangerous than when threatened, never more resolved than when challenged, and never more united than when facing extinction. Admiral Kostova nodded solemnly. An expensive lesson for them. 892 souls for us. A price we paid to prevent a greater war, Thea said. Now the Vekridians join the growing list of species who understand the truth behind the warning emblazoned on our ships. Outside, the massive defense. Platforms' lights illuminated the hulls of the human escort vessels, clearly displaying the words that had transformed from a military motto into a galactic doctrine. Violate this at your peril. Human warships leave no survivors. In the vastness of space, it served as both promise and warning, a testament to humanity's complex nature. A species that could extend the hand of friendship while keeping the other firmly on the sword, ready to strike with overwhelming force when peace was no longer an option. The policy that had preserved human sovereignty among the stars remained, unchanged. Diplomacy first, always. But when diplomacy failed, absolute victory. No middle ground, no survivors, no exceptions. The galaxy had been reminded once again why humanity, despite its relative youth among spacefaring civilizations, commanded such profound respect and fear.